So in this video, we're going to be getting our minions that we just created moving around, so they're a little bit more dangerous than just kind of sitting there hoping that we run into them. So we're going to get two basic sort of movements going. We're going to get a little patrol movement and then just a sort of a back and forth movement going. So let's go into our bat. Notice when you click on the bat, it doesn't have any brains right here. There's no code yet in it. It's just a static object. All the sensing for touching the bat and changing lives is all hosted in Scratch because that's who should be sensing if he's touching the bat. Let's go to the bat itself and let's start adding some code. Remember, we always start with when flagged. When game started or when green flag clicked, bit of code. Now, the bats are going to have very, very simple code to start off with. We might get this a little more complex as we build this game out into something more complicated. But for now, we're going to start with a little bit of a control forever block. So we're going to create just a little looping behavior. Notice the little arrow there denotes that this block will loop whatever is inside it continuously. So we're on bat number 1, which is, if you double click, if you're ever wondering which one of your sprites is the one you're trying to select and you're trying to find it in your game, especially if they look the same, you can just click there and you'll notice a little blue highlight button appears over the sprite itself. It also is helpful if it's hidden, and you think, oh, there it is, and I can turn it back on. Anyway, we're going to get this bat moving a little bit. We're going to make sure the game is stopped. Always make sure the game is stopped when you're doing your code writing, because it just helps updating coordinates in the game itself. So we're going to click on this bat, and we're going to have him start right here. Generally speaking, when you start your game, one of the things you might want to do is you might want to just set the starting position for the sprite just when the game itself begins. And I find that's actually a really helpful way to go about doing this. So we're going to go to the XY coordinate block, and we're going to drag it just above our forever block here. And this is basically just going to always start the bat at the same position. And then it helps for just keeping things moving better, especially if you pause the game later on and the bat's in a different position. He won't then go into his motion loop here without going first to his starting position. So this is his starting position. I want this bat to basically follow just a little patrol. So he's going to move from his starting position over to here and then back. So I'm going to click him. I'm going to drag him to his new sort of point on this path. And I'm going to grab the glide 1 second to XY position. I'm going to drag that in here. So he's now going to move from his starting position and he's going to glide for 1 second, or it'll take him 1 second to get to this position. Then I'm going to take him, I'm going to move him back to his starting position. I'm actually going to match this one exactly, so that's negative 87, and Y94, Y94, and enter. And then I'm going to glide him to negative 87, Y94. So let's take a look at what that does. I'm going to click the start flag. So he's just going to glide back and forth along that path. 1 second from one point to one point. So now, if I want to get down here, I actually have to time it so that I'm avoiding him, right? Well, that's kind of neat. Let's get our other bat here doing something as well. So you can actually notice if I'm selected on the bat here, you can see its coordinates changing. You can see that I put it down to like negative 90, or sorry, Y90 there. So it's got a slight angle to its path, but not too bad. So let's stop the game. Notice when I start, it always goes back to its starting position, which is good. I'm just going to move it over there for now. We're going to get this bat to do a little bit longer of a patrol. So we're going to start him here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do when game starts, we're going to put him in a starting position. So go to X, Y, and then we're going to drop in the control right underneath that. And we're going to give him a kind of a square-like patrol pattern. So he's going to start here. We're going to move him over here. So we're going to go to our motion. So glide 1 second to this coordinate. We're going to move him up here. Glide 1 second to that coordinate. Then I'm going to make him kind of go around this spot. So I'm going to move him here. So that's a little bit shorter of a move. That's okay. We can adjust this. We're going to move him up here. And here. And we're going to grab that last one right here. But I'm just going to copy on this one. Right now it looks the same. I'm going to copy what our coordinates were there. So that was 189. Oops. 189 and negative 137. So negative 137. And let's take a look what this looks like. So fast, 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 slow, slow, fast, 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 fast. Okay, so these two right here, they're much shorter paths. Each one of these points is taking 1 second. So that's not what I want. I want it to maintain a consistent speed. So we're going to stop it. I know that, so points go 0.1, 0.2, so 0.3 is this short one, and this was a short one as well. We're going to actually change those to 0.25 seconds. So a quarter of the seconds, because they're closer to a quarter of the distance. Let's try that out. So moves. Da, da, da. Yeah, that seems a little bit nicer there. It's not quite as fast on those two spots, but I think it still works fairly well. So now we have two patrolling bats. Now we actually have some difficulty moving through these spots. We still have some safe spaces that we can kind of rest, but we're actually dealing with a little bit more complexity. Now, you can make your sprites much smaller than this and actually create a fairly large complex level. So we have a basic 2-coordinate patrol, and then we have about a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coordinate control for the second bat. And I'll show you something kind of neat here. In our next video, we're going to start adding a little bit of animation to our game. So we're going to add a little bit more to the game, just to bring a little bit more life to it. But this is how you get minions moving within your game.